Hello. I felt like I need to redeem myself from this hot mess I was this morning. I could be better, so I'll try to be better today. Not so sloppy with tears and emotions. Um, I don't know who's going to hear this, who's going to see it, but wherever you are, whoever you are, I hope you related to this in some way. Um, Maybe at the end you'll find a reason to join to join me in this. Um, so I'll tell you guys a little bit about who I am, so you know who's talking, and then I'll get into detail of why I'm doing this. So my name is Nyajuok, Nyajuok Tongyik. I'm from South Sudan, from a tribe called Nuer. My family came to America when I was 13. How many years that been? 21, 22 years ago. So it's been that long. 22, 20, maybe about 22, 23 years ago. So I'm from a big family. I have 4 brothers and 2 other sisters. And from a very different culture. A cultures that don't see me, regardless of how much I has accomplished as an individual. I'm still nobody because I'm a woman. A culture that only recognizes males, sons. And we have a new generation now that is so courageous and want to take that up against. They're gonna go against the world, and I want to support them. I want to share my story. I want to encourage them that I'm gonna be there with them. I'm gonna support them, and we're gonna do this fight together. I grew up in Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska to be exact. So when I was 14, I had an arranged marriage in Nebraska. So my dad arranged the marriage with a guy family from the same tribe. And I found out by accident too that I was getting married. Can you believe that? I walked into my auntie house and I saw women's from this guy family in my auntie's house, and I asked, and they told me like, oh, it's not a big deal, like, oh, they're here because they want to marry you. And I'm like, really? Nobody told me. And for 2 years I fought that marriage, and I was ridiculed by my own family. My dad especially. He got my auntie involved, my uncle involved, my mom involved, and eventually got my brother involved. My older brother, and I was against everybody. I was freaking probably 15 at the time. I was alone. I was alone. I remember in high school, my brother he was able to drive at the time, and he would drive me and him to school. And when my dad figured out that I absolutely was against this marriage, he told my brother not to give me a ride to school and that I need to figure out my own way to school. I think I was a freshman or sophomore. And so my brother listened. He listened to him, and he refused to give me a ride to school. So my only option was to take bus. I would take bus in the morning and go to school. Um, because at that time the schools were not like this where you are allocated to a district. You can go to any school, and we were going to school where there was mostly Sudanese kids, and that was Central High School in Omaha. So I would take a bus in the morning, city bus, to go to school. Eventually I got tired of taking city bus. I I found my own ways, and I transferred to another school across town so I can get school bus. So I managed that. Um, and there was a lot of things. There was a lot of fights in the house. Um, I was beaten a lot. Usually there was a lot of fight between me and my brother, and most of those fights were ignited by my family, my parents, my dad, my mom. They would they would cause me and my brother to fight. I got beaten a lot, to the point where I contemplated suicide. Um, all of that happened because I refused to get married to this guy. And I would talk to the guy. I remember he would come to the house, and we would sit on the couch or on the bed talking. And I tell him, I said, I'm not interested in you. I don't want to marry you. I want to go to school. I want to have a boyfriend, you know, like every teenager. Um, but one thing he told me, he said, I have this arrangement with your family. If you no longer want to be married to me, you need to tell your dad. You need to tell your dad, and your dad will tell me. And if he no longer want me to be married to you, he will give me my money back, because he had paid dowry, you know, culture. He paid a lot of money. And I told my cousin, um, who was, you know, she's older than me, but she's younger than the most people that wanted to push me into this marriage. And I remember she told me, she said, traditionally, if you don't like a man and you don't want to be married to a man, you have to bring another man so that he can pay back the dowry that your dad or your family has taken from the previous man. So you're not putting your dad at a financial liability, I guess. So she asked me if I know a guy that I like that I can recommend to my family to marry to so he can pay back the dowry. So I did. I did. So they call him right. They call him up right away. They did whatever they did. He ended up paying this guy money back, all this guy dowry, and now I was to be his and to be married to him. I didn't freaking even know him. But any event, he was my chosen. It was better than being pushed into an older guy. He was freaking 26, and I was 14, 15, and I'd rather be with this other one who was 19 at the time. And he was a senior in high school, and I was a freshman, so it was, you know, better deal, I guess. Even though my whole objective was to not be married, to date and go to college. Um, so it took another year. By the time I was 16, I had slept with this one, and I got pregnant. And my dad found out that I was pregnant, and it was a huge, huge deal because one, It was embarrassment to the family because they didn't give me to him. You know, traditionally a girl will have to be given out. The family would talk and will decided that she's old enough and now you can take her in and sleep with her. So of course that didn't happen. I gave myself and I got pregnant. And that I became an outcast. He had gotten he got so many beat. He's taken so many beat because of me. My brothers and his friends would recruit each other, beat him up in the parking lot, destroy his cars, beat his family up. It was a fiasco in Omaha, Nebraska. So I had my daughter. I was 17. I was still in living with my family because the agreement was I wasn't going to move in with him until I graduated high school. So I I continued with my high school. Nobody believed that I was going to finish high school. I was a pregnant teenager in high school. Um, I remember the day I had a dream about going to college. I was pregnant. I was a senior, and our counselor in school had put together a college tour. Okay, college tour, and I guess it was for it was I don't know people that they didn't see the future for because it was seven of us. Two were Hispanic girls who were mom already at the time. Probably the rest were doing drugs. I don't know. I was a teenage Sudanese girl who nobody see future for. They put us on a bus and they took us to the community college. Let me tell you, the local community college was all they saw for me. Was where my future was going to be. I got nothing against community college, but my family, my community, even my school counselor saw me as all I was going to be was maybe go to a community college and that's it. But let me tell you, my life changed that day because the lady they had as our speaker, I don't know her name, but she came and spoke to us in an auditorium that was not full at all. It was few of the kids that were from the undeserved, underprivileged, the low income kids, the pregnant teenagers, the drugs addicts, and I was among them. She came up, she was African American. She was African American and she opened up, she shared her story. She was a teenage mom. She had a child at 17. She also didn't have a future according to her family. But at that time, she had obtained her PhD, okay? She had a PhD, I don't remember what it was. But I knew that if she can do it, I can also do it. I came back and I knew that I wanted to go to university. That I want to have my education. I want to break the barriers. That I want to be somebody. But I had no idea who. Okay? I had no idea who. So I found my community. I graduated high school. I went to the same community college. I was working night shift. But the day I moved out of my house, the day I moved out of my family house, I called my mom, I called my brother, and I told my dad, all three of them, that I was moving out. I was moving out with my husband, my baby daddy, and despite that, they never liked him. So it was not their chosen. They took his money. They beat him up because he got me pregnant before the marriage could be finished. They still, they weren't going to allow me to go. But I told my dad, I said I was moving because at this point my daughter, how old was my daughter? This was August of 2013. Or 2003. I had my daughter, I had her in 2002. So she was over a year. My daughter was over a year old. And to that point, my dad never spoke to my daughter, never said her name. I was living in a house where my dad would come. He would come in and my daughter go to him. She was crawling, walking, I don't know. She would go to him and my dad would just go past my daughter, never picked him up, never say his name or her name. And I was tired. I was tired to live in the house. I didn't want to live in the same house anymore. I was ready to move out. So that day I told him I was ready to move out. I was 18. And I don't know what happened, but I started getting beat up by my brother in front of my mom, in front of my brother, in front of my dad. A fight broke out between him and I. Well, my dad decided to leave me with my mom and my brother in the middle of a fight. And my mom decided to go to work. She packed her stuff and left me to my brother getting beaten up. Eventually I passed out. I lost conscious and my brother left me. He left me in the room unconscious. Another girl came. She found me. I don't know how. She found me. She called 911. I was taken to the university. Police came. And they asked me if I want to press charges against my brother. And I said no. I said no, I didn't want to press charges. Because I'm from a culture that you just don't do that to your family, right? I was raised to not do that to your family, but yet they were doing it to me every day. Every day from the time I was 14 to the time I was 18. I got beaten up every single day. So I left, right? I left home. I never moved back. Never moved out back. I went to college. Eventually, a year later, I left the university. I left the community college. I moved to a local university in Midland in Fremont, Nebraska. I went there and I did my nursing. In 2005, I graduated with my Bachelor of Nursing and I joined Army. What a rebellious... I didn't want anything to do with my community. I didn't want to be around. I didn't want to be around them. I didn't want to be around them. So I joined Army. So I've been active duty. I've been in the Army for the past 11 years. And my daughter's 18. I left that marriage at the age of 19 before I moved to the university, finished my nursing, and the day that I left, can't believe it too, I got my ass whooped. I got beaten up too by him. I got beaten up so bad. He beat me up, and somehow I landed up I landed up in jail. I got arrested because by the time somebody came to help me, he was smart enough to yell and says, "Please help me, she's trying to kill me." And I was the one that called the police. So of course when the police came and interviewed the only witness, all they said was, they heard a man scream, said, "Please help me, she's trying to kill me." So of course I got arrested. I got arrested and taken to jail. I spent the night in jail. The next day I went to court. My bond was set for $15,000. And out of $15,000, I think they needed to pay 10%, which was $1,500. My uncle got bail, who's I'm so appreciative with, and my best friend Martha came and got me out. Okay, let me tell you, they came and got me out of jail. They paid $1,500. 2 months later, my charges were dropped. I got their money back and I paid them back. And I left. I left Omaha. I went to Fremont. I graduated with my bachelor. And I left Nebraska. Took my daughter and I joined Army. I joined the Army as a way for me to never go back. To this day, I love my community, but yet I hate it. I hate it so bad for what they do to young girls. Because I know I was not the only one. I was not the only one. Let me tell you, the reason I'm finally making this video is because we are not silent anymore. We're not gonna be silent anymore. We have been abused. We've been raped. We've been called names by our own families, our own fathers, our own uncles, our moms, our dad. I'm sure this is gonna come as a shock to many of Sudanese people, because Nyajuok Tongyik, right? She's somebody, you know. Her dad is somebody. He's a pastor, and her mom is very well respected, right? How could she do this? How could she talk about the community? Oh, shame on all of you. Shame on all of you. Every kid is wounded. Every Sudanese kid is wounded. We are all wounded, okay? And if you guys don't wake up, if y'all don't wake up, I'm afraid you're gonna lose so many kids. Let me tell you, my American friends, my non-Sudanese friends, a couple of days ago, there's a young generation in town, okay? Let me tell you, there's kids that were born here, kids that says we have enough of this oppressed culture, and they are talking, okay? They are talking, and they're not gonna be quiet until somebody hears them. And I think I just joined them. I just joined their movement. This culture that thinks that their women are nothing is gonna stop today. It's gonna stop with us. It's gonna stop with us. You know why? because this Nyajuok that everyone thought that her only worth was to be sold off, to be married off, to be given to a 26-year-old man at the age of 14 is fucking somebody. And I'm somebody. I'm somebody today. Today, I'm an officer in the United States Army. I'm a registered nurse. I have my own house. I have my own car. I do my own stuff. And I help my family. I help my family. I don't hold anything against them. But I get angry. I get angry every time I see another young girl go through what I went through. Every time I see another Sudanese woman being put down. And every time I see my parents praise my brothers, praise them and tell them that everything they're doing, including bringing girls into our house, into their own home, and girls that are young too, And my parents don't say anything about that. I get so disappointed. Because I was treated so differently. But let me tell you, a couple of days ago, a couple of young girls took it on Twitters, talk about how they were raped in details, call people out by names, and how they've been struggling with the situation, with being taken advantage of by your own uncle, your father, your brother, your cousins, and them telling their parents, and they being called charmita, which means slut, and by their own family, and being told that we don't talk about these things, or don't call the police. The community will take care of it, and these girls turn into drugs. They turn into alcohol. Some of them commit suicide because nobody listened to them in a community, in a country that think rape is okay, that selling your kids to a 50-year-old guy for 10 cows or fucking 100 cows, I don't even care, they think it's okay. So they took it on Twitter, they took it on media, and they talked about it, and they gave me the courage to talk about mine. They gave me the courage because I can tell you, everybody think that I'm so strong, that none of this never happened to me because of who I am today. But let me tell you, I came out, and it's nobody's making but my own, and my own God. Nobody's making. It wasn't my parent making. It wasn't my siblings making. It was my own determination to get out of Omaha, to get out of Nebraska, to get out of my family house, to get out of that situation. So my goal today, my goal for making this video is tell you, my little siblings, my sisters, some of you are even my daughters. My daughter's 18. Marna is 18. And if I didn't take her out of Nebraska, she probably would have something to share about this. And that breaks my heart. But I want to tell you that I am with you. I am with you. I am retiring. I'm medically retiring from the Army because of PTSD. You believe it? I have PTSD, and people think it's just from the war. You know, she went to Afghanistan. But you know what? Some of my trauma are from my childhood. Some of them are from all the crap I went through. Back from refugees camp to Nebraska. It's not just from the army, okay? So, yes, I'm being medical retired and I have time. And this is a cause I'm willing to fight for. This is a cause I'm gonna dedicate my free time. I'm gonna do this movement and I'm gonna be with you. I have friends in the army. I have psychologists that have pulled me through this, that have been my personal psychologist, psychiatrist, that I will call and I will ask them if anybody needs help, mental counseling. If anybody wants mental counseling, I'm going to set up a page and I want you to reach out and I want you to get help. Because we are in a community where nobody talks about anything. And I don't want you to be a statistic. I don't want you to kill yourself. I was in a psych ward, okay? I was in a mental institution in September. Nobody knows. My family don't even know. It's gonna come as a shock to them because I thought about killing myself. I don't want you to go through that. I don't want you to go through that. So I'm going to set up a page, and all my white friends, all my American friends, all of you have asked me, what can you do? You can help. You can help. If you're a counselor, you're a social worker, you're a psychologist or psychiatrist, are you a psych nurse? I ask you to join my cause, help my Sudanese ladies. They have been oppressed for so long. And they have been oppressed for so long. So let's help them together. A couple years ago, I got my master in public health thinking that I was going to go to South Sudan and do public health. So this has always been my passion. Teen pregnancy has always been my passion. Educating young girls has always been my passion. And you just continue to speak up.